Is there a strategy that'll help you grow your company faster? CEO Sales Strategies is an investigative business podcast for entrepreneurial people who never stop asking questions. Highly acclaimed sales revenue growth expert Doug C. Brown interviews CEOs, business owners, and professionals who serve them to uncover and share actionable tips and methods behind their bulletproof sales strategies. Topics covered on the show include their failures, struggles, secrets, and processes that help them succeed in selling millions to billions of dollars of their products and services, all with the sole aim of helping you grow your business. If you are eager to know the most effective sales secrets from the A players of the game, then the CEO Sales Strategies podcast is certainly the place to be.
Hey everyone, this is Doug C. Brown with the CEO Sales Strategies Podcast, bringing in another amazing guest. His name is Mr. Steve Benson. He owns a company called Badger Maps at badgermapping.com. He is an expert in the field of outside selling or outside sales. He has a software company of good proportion. He has salespeople he's managing and leading. And we're going to talk a lot about what it takes to be successful in 2023, from what you would normally think about, the challenges and the pitfalls, to what you could do about them, as far as up-leveling your excellence and up-leveling and doubling down on certain things that you could do, and how to measure and map out this whole process for 2023. Without further ado, let's go talk to Steve right now. Steve, welcome to the CEO Sales Strategies Podcast. Thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Doug, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
All right, so I'm going to jump right in because you are a outside sales professional who helps people. You also have a software company, and what is it? Badger Mapping, BADGERMAPPING.com. Is that right?
Yeah, Badger like the animal. I went to the University of Wisconsin, so when it came time to name a company, I could do nothing but say Badger. So
true to the alma mater.
Exactly, and then mapping, not because we map badgers, but because what we do is mapping and routing for field salespeople.
So let's talk about sales in general. I mean, it's shifted. You and I have had conversations on this in the past. I've been on your podcast, which is awesome, regarding outside sales. And 2023 is coming up, right? We're here toward the end of 2022, and 2023 is coming up, and things have shifted. The pandemic, there's all kinds of shifts, right? I mean, that have happened. Like, salespeople now are, I would say, very valuable, but perceived differently than they used to be for transfer of information or a broker of information. You want to speak to that from your perspective?
Yeah, well, I guess there's several nested questions in there. So sure. First, how are things shifting for salespeople in with respect to a lot of people have declared sales dead, which I think is very incorrect. Because it's going to be replaced by marketing. People are getting their information without speaking to a salesperson. And I think that people are getting information without speaking to salespeople, and that's a good thing, right? It's good that if you're evaluating a piece of software, for example, you can go to the website and learn a whole bunch of stuff about it, and figure, read analyst reports that are available online, et cetera, and get a feel for, is this the right thing for me to be doing? But then you still have to engage with a salesperson if you would want to get those questions answered. I mean, product-led growth has been so big, which, proclaims, but the biggest proclaimers of product-led growth, that's the concept of letting your product do the growth for you, basically, like, automatic free trials, giving people everything they need to use a product and purchase a product without actually talking to you, right? Like, so Amazon, you don't have to talk to Amazon, you just buy stuff. Or at least in the technology world, the biggest proponents of product-led growth, who initially claimed, hey, we have no salespeople, it's not, we're just not going that direction. That was when they were smaller. As the companies grew, they all have salespeople now, right? Atlassian being the classic example of that. Bottom line, I think things are shifting in that you want people to, and they are getting a lot of information before they engage with your salesperson. I've read I've read 57% is the number that people they make 57% of their decision before they engage with your sales team, and then the rest of the decision is made after they engage. And it used to be very little of the decision was made. They would go in knowing very little. So I think it requires salespeople to up level their game, right? They need to be deeper experts in their product, deeper experts in their competitors, more consultative if they want to succeed, because you're dealing with someone who is a bit more sophisticated in your space as they when they engage with you. It's like if you were selling used cars, and now you used to be able to sell it to your grandma who knew nothing about cars. Now you're selling it to a guy who maybe worked at an auto dealership. They can ask about the transmission. They understand they know what to look for, and so that. It's not that used cars will no longer be sold by used car salesmen. It's that salesman needs to be more consultative, more respectful of the knowledge that the customer has, et cetera.
Makes sense. I mean, you got things like Carfax and online reviews. And I know even like I had an older vehicle I was rebuilding, and I could go find stuff that was going to break down on it. Right. I mean, it was like, this is the common things of this old vehicle, and here's how things happen. So you can prepare for those things.
And we certainly see this in our business. We actually named something the 57% project because we wanted to actively create the content that people that were in that pre-engaging with us decision-making period, what are the things that they would want to see? What would they what questions do they have? What do they need to understand? What videos would show them the things they want to understand? And so we actively went about creating what people who are in that phase of evaluation of our space would in fact need. And that doesn't mean we're getting rid of our salespeople. Obviously we've been hiring salespeople as the company's grown, but I think when someone shows up on the sales team's doorstep, they are more educated in what's going on.
Yeah, but I mean, statistically, it's still 43%, right? That want to talk to a salesperson or need to in order to make that. So people are saying,
and they all need to. They're 57% of the way through their decision, is what it means. So they've still got 40. They've got 43% further to get to the finish line.
So can we say that Peter Drucker is actually not correct, that marketing's job is not to make the sales team superfluous?
I would say that is incorrect, and it's a fun way to think about it, I guess. But they sure haven't succeeded yet in making the sales team superfluous. But I think since Peter Drucker said that, I think that they have moved the needle down the line, right? I mean, when he said that, it was probably 10% or something, right? Now it's 57% of the decision has been made. So he's right and he's wrong.
So what going now down the pike in 2023, let's talk about some of the challenges that people are going to have, that, when they're putting together, say, a deal now, obviously people who have access to information could be a challenge for somebody if they're not keeping up with their information as well. What are some of the other challenges? Because it's funny, I just ran across that, Steve, where I did a little bit of research online, and then I was asking questions of the salesperson, and they were going, I don't know. I'll have to get back to you. Right? So
it demands more excellence out of a sales team. I mean, and it makes it harder if you're just onboarding someone. It's like, well, you're as a new salesperson, you're coming up against someone who's also been, researching this market and learning things. And so they're not coming in cold, and you just got hired here. So I just hired someone a couple of weeks ago, and so it's one of these things where it's like, oh, I've got so much to teach you, because some of the people they're talking to are already super sophisticated in technology, and maybe they buy a lot of technology, and so you need to be able to not just understand our product, but be able to speak to the broader ecosystem and ask and answer questions about like how security works, et cetera. It's complicated, and so we have to up level our game, training our salespeople, coaching our salespeople. The onboarding process, you got to tighten up. There's a lot there. But to finish your question, I think you're asking what are the challenges that we're facing in 2023 is the question, right? I think we're in tough economic times in a lot of ways. I mean, obviously we've got inflation and low growth, and the stock market's down 20% for the year, and I think we're either in a recession or we're looking down the barrel of one. It's very difficult to say how deep something like that will go, but I think as salespeople, we can assume, and business leaders, we can assume that it is going to affect our business and businesses, and it will, and we're going to encounter some headwinds. Now, I think that what the headwinds will be depends a lot on the industry and what's going on. I think, one thing that everyone's going to deal with, or basically everyone will deal with, is their competitors' behavior changing, and in some cases being relatively desperate. Desperate competitors do desperate things, right? And so what does that mean? It means they're going to do things they wouldn't normally do in normal times. So maybe they'll deeply discount, maybe they'll liquidate inventory to make ends meet. Maybe they'll give away free consulting or other types of free value. All these things to steal your customers away from you and put pressure on you to compress your margins. So there's competitors. I think we'll run into challenges in 2023 from our customers behaving differently, encountering resistance from them that maybe you didn't see before, around not wanting to engage, not wanting to do new projects, not wanting to purchase things from you at the same rate as they were before, not wanting to pay as much. Maybe there's a spending freeze. Maybe there's that's coming in from the top of their company. Maybe maybe if you sell to consumers and customers, maybe maybe there's less money to go around. Maybe they have less disposable income because of inflation. So yeah, the people you sell to, we're encountering challenges from them. If you sell to professional companies, this is a great excuse for aggressive procurement offices to be aggressive, right? Like, so, if you look for the procurement officer that you're selling to jam you on the deal, like ask for discounts with using a bad economy as the reasoning, and bottom line is a lot of things come after your margins if the economy is bad, right? Mm-hmm. So you do have to try to get ahead of that, I think. And as salespeople or as business leaders, one of the best ways to get around that is to start positioning things and start negotiating from your first call with a prospect. Make sure you're asking the right questions up front during discovery, so that they and you understand the value that they're going to get from your solution. And that way, when it comes time to make a proposal or ask for the business, you can really drill into the real ROI that they're getting from the value. Like, you're going to spend 20 grand with us. What are you really getting out of this? And then you can tie your proposal to it. And then when they start asking for margin concessions that are going to compress your margin, you can point back to that ROI value and say, hey, you're spending 40 grand, but you're getting 80. And you can hold firmer on price with that confidence if you really understand their business and how your product's gonna affect it. And you do that from the first call, right?
I've got a whole page of notes on everything you just said. So I'm going to double back here. I think it boils down to two things that we need to do in 2023 based on everything you just said. You said this earlier, we need more excellence and we need to up level that excellence. And that means we need to must know how to sell on value versus any commoditization that could have happened in the past or crept in. And I look at it as we've got to sell value on the must-haves and possible needs versus the wants, right? So, because especially in B2B, most of the time they're buying must-haves as a primary. But I see people miss this so many times. They're going at, well, you might need this or you want this, and they're not digging deep enough to convey that information because they don't know it. And so they don't know how to sell the value based on that. That was the first thing that I wrote down. Second thing I wrote down was In our down economy, I have never seen this not work. Any company that I've ever owned or anybody I've ever said this to. Now, as your competitors are going to be doing those squirrely things that you were talking about, Steve, I believe it's better for us to double down now more than ever on our positioning and our marketing in the market and get ourselves more in the public square than we've ever been in the past, because the competition will be lower, because traditionally people pull back on marketing and sales during a down economy. So I think those two things combat most of the challenges that people will face in 2023. Not necessarily all the challenges, obviously, but those were, I thought, excellent points that you brought up. Yeah, and I agree. You're going to get more resistance from the customer. So if you get more resistance, you gotta be up leveling your skills on this thing. And oh, by the way, old dogs and new dogs alike. Steve, I love your comment on this. But what I have found with outside sales or inside sales, it doesn't matter. Some of the senior people are the most who get the most lax because they think, oh, I got this, right? And so, if you're hearing this and you're in one of those positions, I strongly suggest that you up level your experience as well and upgrade your skills as much as the new person, because that new person coming in traditionally is going to be learning all the new stuff coming in, and they may up level above you. So you're not always the top dog anymore. Steve, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think in a challenging economy, it's hard to be an experienced rep or a new rep, both, and I think they do have different challenges, and I think one thing you can do is try to, as a leader, as a CEO or as a sales leader, a big part of your job is to coach and improve those people, whether they're, regardless of what level they're at in your organization. And one thing you can do is you can look for the things that the old dogs are good at, and you can have them teach everyone else. And you can look for the things that someone who's a new dog might be good at and have them teach everyone else, and try to up level your whole team. So, and I say have them teach it. What I mean by that is identify who on your team is good at something and study them like they're a wild animal, and try to figure out why are they. Let's just take an example. This old dog on your team is great at negotiating deals and getting them done. Try to figure out, what are they doing that's really, what have they figured out here in the last 10 years working at this company that's made them so good at negotiating in this space and about our product. Watch them do it, take notes, and then talk to them about it, and have them, once you've got the answers as to why they're successful, have them in a group call teach everyone else on the team what they know, because salespeople are often very receptive to the other people on their team who they know are good at something, teaching them. And it could be a young dog too, who's really good at, let's just say, using technology to drive new leads. They could, if you figure out that they're good at that, figure out what they're doing, figure out the process, and get it all written down, and have them teach everyone else. And so I guess that's my thought about how to approach that.
I firmly agree. We're speaking with Steve Benson. Company's called Badger Maps. They're at Badger, just like the animal, mapping, mapping.com. And I love the analogy of, look at them like they're a wild animal. I'm like, okay, Badger, wild animal, here we go.
Yeah, I'm very, I'm a predictable animal is what I am. I've always read it at company names, and I'm like, oh, I hate that name. I like nouns, I like anything you can touch and feel, because it sticks in the mind. You say your company is yellow sunglasses, and everyone pictures yellow sunglasses, right? Yeah. Like, you say Badger Mapping, they picture a little badger looking at a map. They can't help it. That's memorable stuff. Whereas if you name your company like an adjective or something, there's no it doesn't stick in the mind.
It's I think you brought something up that I want to come back to, Steve, because what it is to be a sales leader, right? Or, if you're managing a team, not you, but one's managing a team, you are managing a team. So I already know that. So if one's managing a team, I've always found there's really two jobs in being a sales manager. A, to grow revenue of the team, right? B, to coach and improve. Those are the two main functions. The rest are kind of given, in my opinion. So let's talk a little more about this coaching and improving thing, because I see so many leaders of sales organizations doing a terrible job at coaching and managing, or they don't even know what coaching is. Right? They think we'll get the team together and they're all read out what they're going to do for this next quarter or next month, and we'll talk for 5 minutes, and that's coaching in a group environment. I found coaching needs to be on an individual basis. What about you? What have you found?
I think it can be both. I think coaching, in the way that I generally tend to think about it, is one-on-one. Sometimes the whole team can be, if you're coaching the whole team, you're probably teaching everyone something. Or if you're doing that strategy that I just outlined, where you're having people on the team teach others, I guess that's more teaching than coaching. But coaching, I think coaching can be a lot of things, right? And I think it's so important in tough times that, even in good times, a great manager is a great coach and spends half their time on coaching and improving the team. What that doesn't have to be like sitting down and giving them direct feedback or anything. It can be a lot of things. It can be pre-call strategizing in sales. It can be post-call debriefs. It could be joint calls, ride-alongs. It could be going over opportunities, opportunity-specific coaching, like where you go through the individual deal and think about what, strategize about it. I think all any kind of interactions like that count as coaching, and I think they are often one-on-one. But I think anytime you're up-leveling your team, that's what great managers do. And I think it's important to think about what is coaching too, right? Like a great coach is not someone who says, I need you to do better. There's like a great basketball coach doesn't say, I need you to score more points. I need you, you can't say, I want you to get more sales. A great coach says, we need to score more. And I've noticed, when you're dribbling on your left-handed crossover, if you led with this foot instead of that foot, you'd get the jump a little better because you'd cut off the defender and you could drive to the basket and do a layup. That's great coaching. It's specific. It breaks down what the person's doing. So it's hey, when you're negotiating, do it like this. Hey, when you're sending out emails to generate leads, try doing. I notice it's like this. What if we tried it like this? I think it should be specific, and it should also be appropriate, right? Like a great coach has to think about, well, right now in this industry, this is what's going on this team with this person. This is what's going on, and it's got to be, you've got to really tailor it. Is it negotiation they need coaching on, or is it generating leads? Is it in a tough economy, qualification can be really, really valuable, right? Mm-hmm. So they're spending their time in things that will actually convert. It's easy to have your pipeline be the same size when the economy's bad, but what's actually coming out of that pipeline? If your close rate's gone down because people don't have money, well, then you need twice the size of pipeline to get the same output. So I guess that's my thoughts on coaching.
Yeah, I really agree with you. I think I was writing it down and summing up what I think you were saying. Is really coaching is about changing behaviors, actions, and mindsets to improve and optimize what's going on in that individual's life, as well as the overall team of going there. And I wanted to push on this subject matter, Steve, because I just see so many people who are, claiming they're in a leadership development role, but they're not doing the development side. They're just doing, right? They're pushing numbers, they're pushing paper, they're making directives, they're doing this, they're doing that. And coaching has been shown across all statistics to improve people's ability to perform as long as they're coachable, right? So Thank you for bringing that up. I want to shift a little bit to like, let's talk about some specific tools, maybe it's like maybe geographic tools or what can and let's focus on people who are selling like outside salespeople because, a lot of people listening to this are outside people who are selling, whether they're the owner of the company still selling, or they've got a team of people, or they're a solo entrepreneur, or even own a huge corporation. What are some of the tools maybe in 2023 that people should think about from your perspective?
Well, I guess in the area of mapping tools and routing tools for salespeople, there's a bunch of different categories of them, right? So there's business to business sales mapping tools. So for salespeople that are selling to businesses, and that's what we do. That's what Badger Maps does. That's also, Salesforce Maps does a very similar thing. Map My Customers does a very similar thing. Lead Plotter, Map View. There's a bunch of people in this space. And if you're in a medical device company or a pharmaceutical company, a construction company, you sell to businesses face to face, then those types of B2B sales mapping tools that help you figure out who to focus on, given the constraint of where your rep physically is in the field, and then how to build out their day, how to schedule it, how to route it, how to understand what's around me right now. If this meeting just canceled, who can I go and swing by and replace it with? I think that those can be a really valuable efficiency tool, because if you're getting 20% more meetings and driving 20% fewer miles, it's because you've kind of had this tool to think out your day. That can be really valuable. Now that's just one type of sales mapping tool. There's also business to consumer. So not B2B like us, but there's business to consumer mapping tools, meaning that the primary people who use the tool are selling door to door to consumers. So they go up to people's actual homes and sell them things. So you'll see this in things like residential solar, yep. Like putting solar panels on people's roofs, right? Residential pest control, political stuff, residential HVAC, all these types of things. And the companies that do that are like Field Routes, Sales Rabbit, Optimo Route, Spotio. These guys all focus on people that sell the door to door, to people's houses. So and you get very similar. So it's kind of like very similar to us, except we sell to businesses, they sell to houses. But you get very similar great results out of giving these guys a tool to be more organized, right? And does very similar things. Other types of software that you'll run into are territory mapping software. So like actually designing the software, like meaning I have 100 sales reps across the country. Where should I draw the lines between their territories? Like who gets this? How do I break up all these states and all these zip codes? There's software that helps you with that. Companies that do that, AlignStar exactly owns them. That big sales technology company exactly. They own AlignStar now. There's AlignMix. Their Salesforce Maps has a product they have for that as well. Maptive, Easy Territory, all those guys help build out your territory for you. So yeah, those are four. There's also geoanalytics. I guess I should mention that. That's an important mapping and geography type software company that's like helping you analyze data on a map. So like, let's just say your marketing team needs to do some analysis on how to segment customers, figuring out where they want to run what geographies they want to run certain types of ad campaigns in, or where do we want to open up our next store, or what are the demographics in this area versus this area, and what does that mean for us? Companies that do that are like Tableau, which is a pretty big company that does lots of types of analysis, but they have a nice geographic product. eSpatial does that. GeoPoint does that. Maplytics does that. But I guess that I think covers the the sales mapping software as far as I can think of. And that's the area that I really know a lot about. I mean, broader than that, I mean, we could talk about technology for hours and what CRMs people could use and all that. But email marketing, other market, and MarTech is, I mean, there's got to be 5,000 marketing technology companies at this point. So there's a lot to do there.
I want to come back to the sales mapping for a second, because that's part of what a lot of small and mid-sized companies don't do this at all.
Right.
It just, so I don't even think they're aware of the benefits of it. So what's your definition of a sales map process or sales process mapping? Just so.
Well, so I guess it could be any of those things I mentioned, B2B, B2C, could be building out the territory, could be doing analysis. But a small company can really benefit from this the same way a large company can. I mean, I guess a tiny company doesn't need to like break up sales territories. If you got, 3 sales guys covering America, it's kind of obvious how to do it, right? But for the other stuff, it really is, even if I mean, half of our customers are single seat, meaning one person buying our software, and it could be one sales rep at a big company. It could be, one guy who's running a one-man business. But I mean, effectively, you probably don't have a CRM if you're one guy running a business, and so you don't even have to integrate it. You just take your spreadsheet and upload it into a system like this. And if you're running like an outside, I'll use us as an example. If you're running an outside sales motion, you upload your customers and prospects into the tool, and now you can gather information into the tool when you're out in the field. You can build a route. You can kind of figure out who to focus on. You can use your computer to do this. You can do it use your mobile device like your phone or your iPad when you're out in the field. And the motion is really get the data in there. Now that you're viewing it on a map, you can start figuring, okay, well, of these 1,000 people, who should I be focused on in the next week, given that I know about where I'm going in the next week? Let me zoom in on that area, right? Who's here? Who's important that's here? In what order would I want to see them in? And obviously it has a scheduling and routing tool. You can build a route and optimize a route. You kind of take your finger and draw a picture on the screen and circle the things you want to add to the route, and it automatically builds you an optimized route for it. And then you can set the meetings around it. Sometimes, depending on your motion, right? Sometimes you're just swinging by places. If you're selling to dentist offices, for example, maybe you're just swinging by, dropping off brochures, hoping to talk to the dentist. Or if you've already got a relationship with them, maybe you're calling and saying, hey, can I come by at 4:00 on Thursday? Are you free? But that's how you use that. That's how a business person would use that software in their sales motion.
Yeah, and the reason I brought this up is because we started with 2023, right? What can I do in 2023 to improve and optimize and move forward? And if somebody's not, well, let me put it this way. If somebody's evaluating steps, processes, stages, data that's coming through, small company, mid-sized company, large size company, when we're evaluating that, we find patterns of success within that evaluation, and we find things that we're not supposed to be doing as well in there. Like I've been into companies where like literally 17% of their clientele is buying and the other 83% is not, but they're so focused on the 83% versus us taking the 17% and selling them more, right? And so when we did that shift, for example, they doubled in size because they went back to this. But if we're not evaluating these steps, these stages, the data points within, and that's why I wanted to bring up sales mapping, because it's something that a lot of people don't think about because they think, well, it's not really relevant to me. But if we're going to get better in 2023 and we want to get better than our competition, we want to be more effective, we want to up level, it starts with analyzing the data points that are going on within the stages and steps of the sales process and the clientele that we're serving.
And finding plays that you can run, right? It's like, okay, so this type of customer, it's my larger customers or it's my smaller customers that are purchasing this product from me, but aren't purchasing kind of the sister product that goes along with it. Let me focus on that, anyone buying this from me, they're buying this from somebody and mine goes better with that. So how can I get in front of them and upsell them into buying this from me as well? Like, and talk and being able to discuss how they fit together. It's figuring out those plays, like where is the best industry? Where are the industries that really need this or need this upsell or need this additional service, or where does this really play well? Figuring them out, identifying them, and then getting in front of them, prosecuting them, whether it's with a field sales motion or an inside motion, or depending on how you go to market.
Steve, I want to thank you for being here. If people want to know more about the company, sales mapping, yourself, where do they go?
If it's the company, or if they have field salespeople or they are out in the field, I would definitely check out badgermapping.com. Very useful tool in a lot of ways, do a lot of things. If they're looking for me, best way to find me is probably LinkedIn. Just do a Google search of Steve Benson Badger Maps. It'll pop right up. That's probably the best way to find me or the company.
Steve, thanks for being on the CEO Sales Strategies podcast. I really appreciate you being here. I really appreciate you bringing your A game and helping a lot of people on this call. Thanks again.
Thanks for having me, Doug.
All right. So what are you going to up level? What are you going to create more excellence on? I've got a ton of notes here. Listen, if you've been in a field for a long period of time or you're just starting out, treat 2023 as a new process, because technology has moved on. Technology has grown up. You've got to grow with not only technology, but what the shift is happening in the sales arena. As we talked about, 57% of the decision is being made before you even get to talk to somebody anymore. How are you positioning to handle that in your life? If you're not constantly up-leveling, if you're not constantly building excellence into the process, believe it or not, over time, atrophy will kick in because other things are moving up. Competition is moving up. Whether you think you have it or not, it's there. And it will continue to keep this process going for a longer period of time. All right. So with that being said, write down what are the top 5 things you're going to do in 2023 to move your career forward in your business, or in your outside sales, or your inside sales, or your solo entrepreneur, or your major corporation initiatives when it comes to growing your revenue. If you love this session, give it a 5-star review, please. If you want to check out his software, reach out to Steve as what we put into the show notes. Check out the software. Do not discount sales mapping for your particular company. It can reveal a lot of great uncovered or hidden up revenue and profitability for you when you utilize a tool like that in its best form. And it's not that hard to do. So if you love this show, please give it a 5-star review as I asked. And if you have a subject matter that you're an expert on, or somebody that is an expert on it, and you want to maybe be a guest on this show, or have your associate or friend or whoever be a guest on this show, send us an email at youmatter, youmatter, at ceosalesstrategies.com. And we will answer one way or another. If it's a fit, great, we'll invite you. If not, we'll tell you why not. If you want to get yourself to the top 1% in selling earnings in 2023, you want to learn how to do even disciplines like following up better and automating processes like this. If you want to have a 1% earner on your team and you want some assistance in doing so, reach out to me at doug@ceosalesstrategies.com. Let's have a conversation and see what's right for you. Until next time, go out and sell something. Sell a lot of it. Sell it at a profit. Play win-win. Make someone happy. Make yourself happy. And to your success. This is Doug C. Brown with the CEO Sales Strategies Podcast, signing off again.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the CEO Sales Strategies Podcast. What is something that you learned that you could act on today? Don't forget to schedule it now, or it may never get forward momentum. If you find our content valuable, please leave a favorable review and let us know what you liked. Please also share this with others if the content will help them. For our show notes, other episodes, and more interesting content and resources, please visit ceosalesstrategiespodcast.com. See you soon, and to your continued success.